The congregation of Mark the Evangelist, formerly of North Melbourne, gathers for worship in the Yuma Auditorium at the Centre for Theology and Ministry in Parkville. We have purchased a slightly used digital organ. It is a Rodgers Infinity Series 243 that had a short life as a concert instrument in Sydney. It's now installed in the Yuma Auditorium, and I went along to watch and listen to the voicing of the organ to suit its new home. In the Rodgers brochure, our organ is described as having 2 keyboard manuals with lighted draw knobs. Rodgers' unique high-resolution sampling process employs up to 8 microphones to record the authentic sound from legendary organs around the world. The list of specifications tells us the organ has 43 stops that delivers a total of 322 voices. The sound comes from 8 speaker cabinets up in the gallery. These contain 4 woofer cones for the bass sounds, 12 mid-range cones and 6 tweeters for the high notes. This enables the instrument to sound as if the music is coming from a real pipe organ. Kerry Morenos of Principal Organs is a specialist in preparing Rodgers organs for their performance spaces. I met Kerry at work going through every stop and note to make them suit our worship space. She was able to let the organ play music all by itself from a bank of pre-recorded pieces, the demonstration pieces that she could move so that she could move around the hall and listen to the effect from across the space. She also demonstrated for Rod Mummery and me how the organ can play one of 300 hymn tunes. I asked for the old 100th, all people that on earth do dwell.
That's my favourite. Okay, so what we do is we press hymn player, and it will then either scroll through numerically, but if you hold it in and you press 2 to 5.
Can you tell us how many verses it's got?
Wait and see.
That's a really smart, good thing.
That was an intro.
3, 4. Make it slower.
Keep up, congregation.
4, 2. Transpose. So it gets to the verse, you're ready to start, it will stop.
Kerry was very keen for Donald Nicholson, our organist, to be happy with the sounds she was preparing. So Donald started to check the sounds for himself.
Okay, that looks like fun. That's going to be so much fun.
Then it was time to sit Kerry and Donald down and ask them about the organ. Kerry, you have been here a couple of days installing this new instrument. Why does it take so long? Why can't you just take it out of the box?
Well, you can take it out of the box, Peter, no problems. Plug it in to the speakers upstairs. However, the magic happens when we voice the organ to this beautiful space. But what we do is we go through every stop on the organ, and we also go through every note. So because in a space we'll find that certain frequencies tend to work against things, and you may have things vibrate your windows or whatever, and we want everything to be clear, no distortion. We want it to have a bit of body, so it takes on its own energy. So you'll forget, you'll just sit here and listen to it and enjoy the music. And now that we have the organist here, then now we do the stop selection to suit Donald.
Now, up in the gallery, there are 8 speaker boxes.
Yes.
With 2, well, in 6 of them there are 3 speaker cones. In the woofers there are 2. I mean, why wouldn't 2 be enough?
Well, we're not emulating a music, a recording. We, we don't just do left and right. We want to have certain sounds going through certain speakers. So you'll have the on-chamade trumpet, for example. At the moment we've got it, so it comes out the corner speaker. But if Donald prefers, we can move it to another speaker. We can have the swell division coming, and we replicate the shapes of the pipes. It's
because in a pipe
acoustic
organ, every pipe is in a different
position. Correct.
Not all coming from like one speaker.
Correct. And that's the other thing, even though we have speakers going through the swell and the grate and the pedals and solo and everything, we still have certain stops going through different speakers. Because for that reason. Okay, you can have just a left and a right and 2 speakers if you want, but the infinity, we want it to be the very best that we can have today. And everything's available in the computer in the organ to be able to make it sound alive. And that's the difference. You can have great speakers and great sound, but we want it to sound alive, which means not everything's going to be on perfect tune. Because a pipe organ's not a perfect tune.
In a real organ, you'll get that slight
variance,
waving sound because.
And I did that today.
Yeah. You said you've been talking about it as one organ. Is it really one organ?
No, because we've got samples from American eclectic, French, German Baroque, or Baroque, wherever you come from in this country, and of course English instruments. And so you can press a piston and allocate what your preference is, and every draw, stop or draw knob that you select will be of that genre. However, the other wonderful thing is it's like this kaleidoscope of sounds where you don't have to be locked in. You can have your favourite Quebecois or French samples mixed in with some English sounds and some of the incredible 32-foot stops, because they all have their own character. And Donald will do that today and tomorrow. We're going to select. You don't have to be locked in, but there's a preference. The organist will go, I feel more comfortable having this at the ready, but knowing that the others are there is great.
Donald, I think you're excited about this instrument.
What gives that away?
It's a kind of
I thought I was
dancing around it. What's good about this instrument?
Everything for a start that Kerry has outlined. This sort of infinite number of possibilities. Because as we said, we've got not only the a bass instrument itself, which has an extraordinary range of sound options in terms of what the stop disposition is, but also within that we've got the the possibility of bringing together various instruments. For the most part, even during the services when we had my little Rodgers, my little Inspire scrubber. I would regularly change instruments based on what part of the service we were at, depending on the sort of colour that I was going for. Something a bit more brash, go American, but something that maybe has a bit more of a warmth and a sort of depth and resonance to it. I would go straight to something French, and of course because as a musician of the Baroque period, Buxtehude and Bach are my daily, the daily diet, as it were. And of course, I'll almost always start every service with a prelude on the German instrument.
So it sounds like organs from different continents and countries have a different accent.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's really interesting that there's, I've been banging on about this as a harpsichordist now for years, without diverting too much, but there's this constant view about all harpsichords are the same. Exactly the same idea applies to organs. There's this when you look back historically on the sort of social significance of the organ, up until even beyond the age of the Industrial Revolution and things like the innovation of electricity and so forth. We know historically that every new piece of technology went into the organ, whether it's perfecting metalcraft, or any aspect of pre-industrial mechanization. All of these things were implemented onto the organ, and of course what that means is that there was always also a certain type of sound that was being required or sought after. The whole idea of solo organ music comes from France. The French in the 17th century had 4 manual instruments that were capable of sounds way beyond anybody else. German organists, of course, were the first to have phenomenal pedal techniques.
Absolutely.
Italian instruments had no pedal boards. And at the same time, we have Samuel Scheidt is writing a treatise on how to play in 4 parts with the feet only.
So you're saying, know, for a prelude, you know, we'd have Buxtehude and on a Baroque German. You wouldn't, on a whim, think, oh, look, I think Buxtehude, a French Buxtehude.
Well, look, sometimes, yeah, actually, you know,
not?
yeah. Well, that's the thing. You know, why not? Because you know, yes, we have the options here. We might as well explore it. And you know, don't get me wrong. I often will look at it and think this is a very nice something that's maybe more of a meditative prelude. And I'll think actually, rather than going all out on a German style, I'll frequently switch over to French anyway, because I just think there's something so I don't know, magnanimous. I just maybe
You love it.
I do.
Like French food, really.
Well, exactly. Yeah,
Lots
it's
of
true.
butter and
all the
wine.
all the different spices. You know, un
Cream.
petit here, un petit there, un
Luscious,
petit Montegazer.
So we've strayed into language and food in order to talk about sound.
Colour.
I mean, it's a bit
Well, you know, the French were the first to start using the word taste when it came to art. You know, and of course we can't escape that.
The whole installation for this organ took place over 4 days, 1 for delivery, 1 for wiring up the speakers, and 2 for the voicing. At last, it is ready for helping to lead worship and to give exciting recitals.